first arrest has been made in the Stanford financial scandal.
And we're also learning that a Houston judge has called for an emergency hearing a couple of hours from now on all this. Adam Shapiro joins us from alleged Ponzi schemer Alan Stanford's offices in Miami. Adam.
Yes, David, and I have to share with you right now that a source has told Fox Business that a criminal complaint is being issued for Robert Allen Stanford. We are trying to find out the nature of that complaint, but that would be the arrest, essentially, of the man at the top of Stanford Financial Group. Again, a very reliable source telling Fox Business that a criminal complaint is being issued for the arrest of Robert Allen Stanford. Now, there was an arrest last night of the chief investment officer. That's Laura Pendergast Holt. She is in a bail hearing in Texas right now. That will resume in the next hour. The U.S. prosecutors asking for $1 million bail for her. Her attorney told us earlier this week, as we were working the story from Houston, that, and this was a quote from them, Ms. Holt is anxious to have the facts involved in this case made public and looks forward to putting this behind her. But right now, no further comment as to what's happening in that courtroom and why she is being charged with a criminal complaint. But we have a copy of it, and essentially, to break it down, what the government saying Ms. Holt did criminally was obstruct justice. There was a meeting here in Miami, actually several of them, between Ms. Holt and senior managers of Stanford Financial Group, at which they plotted what they would say to SEC investigators. One of those meetings taking place in an airplane hangar at an airport here in South Florida. Now, we're also in Florida because we've been interviewing a man by the name of Bowman Brown. He is a well-respected international banking expert. He's an attorney here in Miami. Mr. Stanford approached Mr. Brown back in the early 90s to help him set up the bank in Antigua because he didn't want to be in an environment where there would be regulation. Mr. Brown told us this morning he declined the offer to do business with Mr. Stanford and also believes that the bank in Antigua just wasn't right.
Hey, Adam.
In this case, we're talking about a bank which, in my view, was really an investment company. It did not do any commercial banking business at all. It basically made investments like a hedge fund or an investment company in what the marketing materials say were liquid, conservative investments, but what have turned out to be very illiquid, very risky investments, including real estate projects, including private equity investments in small corporations, struggling corporations.
And so Mr. Brown, again, denying or declining the offer to help Mr. Stanford open that bank in Antigua several years ago. This well-respected international banking expert here in Miami just not trusting Mr. Stanford. And a sidebar to that, about 4 weeks ago, he apparently ran into him in an elevator, and Mr. Stanford turned to Mr. Brown and said, "I now have authority over $50 billion worth of assets." Mr. Brown thinks he, however, has had the last laugh. Back to you, David and Liz.
But once again, just to clarify, Adam, so there, according to your sources, may very well have a criminal complaint being filed for him. Where is he now? Do we know? For a while it was in some Virginia townhouse?
Okay, remember, he was served with the civil complaint at his girlfriend in Virginia. And keep in mind, this man, according to people who know him, he has several girlfriends throughout parts of the United States. We've been told by his own father that Mr. Stanford, actually fathered 6 children by 4 different women. And he's still married, by the way, in the divorce proceedings, which have been dragging on for 10 years. We were told by Mr. Stanford's father, when we interviewed him in Mejia, Texas, that Mr. Stanford is in Houston. So it would seem that right now he's either in Houston, he could be here in Miami. He owns property here in Miami. His primary residence is a compound in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. But according to his family members, as of Wednesday, Robert Allen Stanford was in Houston.
All right. Thank you very much, Adam Shapiro in Miami.